Okay. So we are live. Okay, so welcome everybody. Ralph Havens here and Jen Havens and Baden. Ben is at school. Baden, you want to say hi? Okay. Hi. Okay, so I'm super excited to be here today. It's been a long time coming. So I'm going to announce something in a little bit that Jen and I were working on for a long time, and it wasn't happening, and I figured out a way to do it, and you guys are part of it. And so I'll tell you a little bit about that. But first, and part of it I didn't even tell her till just about 5 minutes ago. So welcome, Jen.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'll look in the YouTube thing and leave comments in the YouTube, and if you're watching later, leave comments and let me know what you think, and if you want to be part of this. And here goes. So it's all been coming together, and I'll tell you a little bit about the backstory first, so you get an idea what's going on. You know, if you've been following me at all, you know I've dealt with a lot of chronic stuff and gotten over anxiety and sweaty hands and different medical conditions and all sorts of toxicity conditions, and we've disrupted our lives and then shifted all sorts of stuff with all sorts of patterns of things that seem to be attacking me, and figured all that out along the way. And so what I realized was, and what Jen and I thought was, you know, there's a way to help kids to really thrive, kind of like a forest. You know, if you leave a forest alone and just let it have good water and air and soil, it'll do really well. And children are the same way, I think. So I'll tell you a little bit about what we're thinking. But that's part of my backstory, is fixing up a lot of stuff in me, and then that's now my work, to help people with autoimmune and anxiety conditions and other chronic things to finally get over it, even if they feel like they've tried everything else already. So that's what I've been up to. And I want to talk to Jen a little bit first, because the way I envision this show going is as if we're all hanging out. Because you know how, like, I don't know about you guys, but I think it's kind of like this for everybody. You're hanging out, and then afterwards with your friends and stuff, and you're like, man, we should have been filming that because it was so good. And you know, it's like somebody should have been taking notes, because it's the kind of thing that it's called a mastermind. It's kind of like if you have 12 people in a space, and one person has a problem in their business or their life or whatever, everybody can start to brainstorm, and what comes out of that group is bigger than any one person would have come up with. It's inspired, and that's part of what we're going to be announcing. So that's the idea behind this. And I want to let Jen here, let's put you up like this so that, yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
well, who knows? Yeah, but who knows if YouTube gets upset?
Oh, well, I'm blocked.
You're blocked?
Yeah.
Okay. So which is just a crazy thing to think you can't like do that, right? Come on. So I hope it yeah, so we're good. Don't need to get banned by YouTube. So I wanted to have Jen tell a little bit about her backstory, because Jen wanted to be a doctor when she was growing up and work in Africa, you know, the khaki pants, khaki shorts, and the Jeep, and save the kids of Africa. But she, so I want to just ask her a little bit, like, just kind of fill everybody in about where you came from, what kind of stuff you had to deal with, what you got over, hopes and dreams, anything you want to say.
Okay. Yeah, I guess as far as that's concerned, I mean, I went through a lot of ideas of different things I might want to be as I grew up, and I would try on different hats. But I thought I would be something super academic, and I also wanted to be of service too. So by the time I was graduating high school, that was definitely one of the things I was considering. And so my major, my freshman year, was pre-med, and I love the coursework. But something within me, my inner voice, and it didn't make sense at the time, but I think in retrospect, it was, you know, guidance from above. That I didn't feel like I could, I really wanted to be a mom someday. And I felt like for my personality and the way that I interacted with I don't like that.
Just wanna make
I don't
sure.
need to hide anything. I'm feeding my child. So I just felt like my personality, I wouldn't be able to be balanced enough going into something as intense as med school. I knew I had a lot of growth to do personally, like interpersonally and with relationships and things like that, that I just didn't think I could be a balanced human being. I thought I kind of, I didn't see myself being able to both be a doctor and be a family person and do both well. I was too, you know, if I did something like medicine, I would have been too focused and too intense and not been able to balance those. And I think that was wise for me, myself, and my personality. So I ended up going different routes and ended up learning about you know, going into the massage world and holistic stuff and seeing the body and the story of the body from a very different perspective. And yeah, so I feel like I kind of ended up in the same world where my purpose is similar. I want to be of service still. I feel like I am being of service. I'm still getting to work with the body and healing, but it's just from a totally different perspective than I even knew was out there when I was growing up. So yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but.
Yeah. And what did you solve? What did you solve? Tell them a little bit about what you solved in your physical world, just a bit, you know, where you were and where you're at now physically.
Yeah. So I guess growing up, I was overall pretty healthy. I was always an athlete and things like that, but I did have a lot of GI issues. You know, a lot of constipation and some pretty intense stomach aches and things like that. And I also struggled quite a bit with anxiety and depression. I was definitely on that spectrum. And I just thought I, you know, was an intense personality and that I pushed myself really hard and it was all about that. But then as I met you and started to, you know, I had already gone through massage school and started to get inklings of just a different way to look at food and my overall health in the body. I started to learn different stories about the body. And you gave me lots of information just being around you and also things that had worked for you and you saw working with your clients. I went gluten-free. I put fat into my diet purposely, good fats, you know, very well-sourced fats, and took out some toxicity. And my blood sugar stabilized, my anxiety and depression went away. I no longer had belly issues. Now, if I have a tummy ache, I'm like, oh my gosh, I used to live like that. Like I can remember, I'm like, I used to feel this all the time. And I just didn't know life without it. And kind of just this chronic low level, like uncomfortable that would sometimes flare up as a lot of pain that was just, I couldn't do anything but lay on the bed and pray to go to sleep, you know? And my parents tried, they tried to find solutions for me, but they just didn't have the information and know how to help me to the level that I've healed at this point. So that's just been part of my journey, but at least they gave me the key. They instilled in us that what we put in our bodies was important and that nutrition was important and that had a lot to do with our health. So I already had that instilled, even though they had different information about nutrition. I had that idea and that connection already instilled in me. So then it made a lot of sense to me when food started healing my body and I just had different information about food than I had before. So yeah, that
Cool.
made a big difference for me.
Cool. And you know, when we first met, we met in what's called a Feldenkrais class, which is an exercise class that was being held at my office by my friend Daniela. And Jen happened to be working for Daniela just a little bit. So Jen was showing up in this exercise class, and for many, many months, that was just going on like that. And then I had that like, that'd be kind of cool to go out with Jen. but I thought, oh, that won't work out. It's like, you know, it just, who knows? And, and, and so we were going along, and it's a funny story because I thought she had taken off. She was gone one time. So I asked Daniela, where's Jen? And she goes, oh, she's on a date. And I'm like, what? She's on a date? After I finally decided to go out with her or try to go out with her. And then she was gone for weeks and weeks. And I'm like, oh, blew it. But then she was back. And so, so then I started I went on a running date with her, and then went on a vacation in Vancouver, British Columbia. And for 10 days, I broke some of the rules. I kept emailing her. You're not supposed to do that, right? But I did. And we set up a date for when we got back, kind of a low key date. It wasn't really a date. It was like, I was going to help her move. She was moving her apartment into my neighborhood. And so, so that was going on. And on the last day, I was sitting on a bench in Vancouver, and all of a sudden, it's so funny. I was reading Eat, Pray, Love. I don't know why a guy is reading Eat, Pray, Love, but there it was. And it was my last day. And I was like, man, I got my business goals. I got a great life in San Diego, great friends, running, everything's good. But I don't have a girlfriend. And I just knew, so I wrote down everything on a piece of paper. The last page of the book was blank. I tore it out and wrote down what life would be like with Jen and a couple of kids in the Pacific Northwest, and put it in my pocket. Then we came back to San Diego, and the next day went on the running date. And then it was a date, not a running date, a moving her in date. And that's when we started going out. And so, so something really cool came up in the last couple of years with me and Jen, and we'll tell you about that in just a second. But I want to check in with Jen and let her tell you guys, like, what were you looking for back in those days? You know, you were like a massage therapist, and you, what did you want in life?
Well,
It's getting hot.
I had actually kind of made the decision to take a break from dating. I just wanted to, I had a great business teacher in my last quarter at Mueller. I never thought I would open my own business, and she totally inspired me to, you know, we had to write a business plan, and she was so inspirational that I thought, you know what, I think I'm going to do this. And so I was kind of focused on starting my business. And at the time, I just hadn't found the right fit for my partner in life. And I really felt called to be a mother. And so kind of, you know, what was in my long-term plan was, you know, I'll keep an eye out for someone, but if I can't find someone, I would love to adopt a child on my own. And I knew I needed to be much more financially sound to be able to do that. So I made a financial plan to get myself out of debt and pay off my student loans and things, and also start making more money. And so I was pretty focused on my business and kind of going down that road, but I also wanted to be, you know, continually learning in life as always, and being of service and things like that. And so, you know, it just all kind of was working together. And then of course, right when I kind of decided, you know, I'm not really gonna on purpose, I'm not gonna really be looking, then you popped in, and on our first running date, I felt this little ping go over, and I was like, I thought we were just jogging and talking, but I wonder why Ralph wanted to jog with me alone. And I felt this lovely, like, just out of the blue thing go for, I swear, went from my heart to yours. And I was like, just noticed it. And I was like, that's interesting. And so it just kind of opened me up to maybe things could go differently. And then, you know, me doing it on my own, because I ideally wanted to do it with someone, but I was pretty picky about the type of person that I wanted to do that with. And then you showed up, and I was like, wow, that was even better than I could have imagined. So,
Thank you.
So yeah, does that answer your question?
I think so. Yeah. And we'll check if anybody's out there, if anybody's watching and anybody's commenting, what they have questions for Jen. And so I want to tell you what we decided.
You hurt your eye?
Just chuck it in, dude. So a while back, you know, I've kind of refined my focus. I can help a lot of people with a lot of stuff, but I realized if someone has an autoimmune condition or an anxiety condition, man, if they just do what we say and they show up for sessions, we can shift a lot of stuff. But people also want bigger lives after that, and so that's become my thing. And so we wanted to restart this Miracles, Magic, and Coffee show And I've reached out to a lot of my teachers and healers and coaches and thought leaders. And by thought leaders, I mean you. Like if you've solved something for you, some sort of physical condition or mental emotional condition or spiritual thing, or you have a way to really shift things, or a relationship thing, then we're reaching out because we're going to be interviewing people. I will be doing a lot of it, but Jen will be on it as much as she can, and interviewing people about what they found, their story and your story, and what you found that helps people. So we're going to start this Miracles, Magic, and Coffee show, kind of like a hangout, and just talk and relax and see what comes out of it. Because what can come out of it is a really inspired plan, a really inspired action, really something. If you've solved something, you've gone from here to here, then somebody else wants to do that too. And if you can help them, then I want to be able to provide you with a place to share that. And then we can work together and do all sorts of stuff. And there can be even cool ways to help you get money with it if you have a way to do that. And we can talk about stuff like that. But that's the idea behind Miracles, Magic, and Coffee. Now the announcement. What I want to give you what the version I see it, and I'll see what Jen says about her version of this. But one thing I noticed getting over autoimmune conditions and anxiety conditions and getting the life that we want was there's a couple of things, two things. One is, if like with me, I had taken antibiotics every 6 months for my whole life because a dentist told me to do that. And then I found out years later that even the American Dental Association was saying, no, don't do that. It's like the risk of that is worse than the risk of infection. And there was numerous things where I was just told wrong information. And if you've been following us, we talk about vaccine and vaccine safety awareness and education. And that's really big for us, because if you just don't hurt a little child with stuff and do what's useful medically if they need it, but not just willy-nilly do antibiotics or willy-nilly do medical interventions, including vaccines, we're designed, we feel, perfect in God's eyes, that we don't have to go do something to make a human grow from a baby to an adult. It's not, you don't have to do that to a tree. You don't have to do it to a fish. You just have to give it a good place to live and not hurt it. And so we want to get the information out there to people so that for their kids, for themselves moving forward, that they're at least not doing anything that's hurting them, because we really believe in the inherent nature healing abilities of people. And if you can just quit hurting things, that first do no harm thing, people can get well. Now, the other part of it is, if you've already done stuff that's hurt you, things that have made things, something that went wrong, maybe perhaps like a surgery, or you're on a lot of drugs now and you ate a lot of wrong food, or, did certain things that you didn't know at the time, or maybe some of you did know at the time, and now you're left with a body that's not doing as well, or some other thing, then we want to get the information to get you well, to get your health back so you can recover and get on and do what you want to do in life. So two parts: one, to give the information so you don't hurt yourself or your kids and you let yourself grow, and the other to clear up anything that you've already done so that you can thrive from this point forward. And so that's the idea that we had. And one thing that came out of it all was something that we haven't even told people the name of this, because I don't know why, who knows, keep it to ourselves for some reason, but we didn't think we had the resources or knew how to do it. But something happened, a story that the guy that makes the software that I use to make websites, Russell Brunson, ClickFunnels. And he told a story when he was he had this idea of how to help free people, entrepreneurs, so that they could not be enslaved with tech stuff. They didn't need a tech person to make stuff, and they could get their message out to the world and change the world in their way with whatever they knew that would help people get well or get what they want in life. And so he had this idea, but the problem was he wasn't a coder, he wasn't a computer guy. He just had this idea, and he wanted to make it where people could get their message out to the world and make money. That was his thing. And so he had some people around him, his friends that were working with him, and they were all coders and stuff. And thought they had a plan and they were working on it, but they found this software that they bought. I think he bought it for $20,000 or $30,000. I might not have the right numbers right exactly, but it was a time when that was a lot of money to him. And he bought it, but his coders couldn't work it. And so for a long time, they tried to make it work. It would have been this beautiful software that would have done what he wanted to do. And it wasn't working. And so he thought, man, I just blew $20,000 that I didn't have. And then he thought, wait a second, and here's the part that's going to be cool for us. He thought, somebody I know knows how to do this. And so he sent an email out to his group. It wasn't that big a group at the time, but he sent an email out to his group. And some guy from another part of the country said, I can do that. And he's like, you can code this stuff called Rubicon. And because yeah, I can do that. I'll just send it over. I'll do it right now. And he's like, really? So I don't even think they exchanged money in the beginning. And he sent it over. And a few hours later or the next day, he sent it back. He said, it's all done. And Russell Brunson looked at it and was like, oh my God, you did it. So they talked and they became partners, and that became ClickFunnels. And now it's this huge way to help make it so I can like do stuff on my web pages, and I don't need a tech person to do it, and I can help get my message out to the world. So when the way it relates to you guys and us is, what Jen and I want to do is something called, we're calling it Make a Lunch Foundation, because there was a guy in the 1930s, Weston A. Price. And if you haven't heard of him, Google him and find Nutrition and Physical Degeneration. It's a book that'll make you cry. And it's also a book that'll give you a lot of hope. And it's got a lot of research. And he was a dentist in the 1930s who started seeing that kids were growing up with crooked teeth for the first time ever, and cavities. And the whole dental orthodonture stuff became a thing. And they were making a lot of money and doing this thing. And so he was a good scientist. And he said, why is this happening? It wasn't happening before. So his wife, who was a nurse, and him, every year in the summer, I believe, they would travel around and visit indigenous cultures to see, is it happening everywhere? And he found, I think, 11 or 14 cultures that were thriving, and he started to piece together what they were doing with food. And he noticed when they were, you can't do this experiment anymore, because here's what happened. They went in, and indigenous cultures were here, and they were thriving, and then the Westerners showed up with their Western diet, and then the next kid was born with crooked teeth and all sorts of deformities and all sorts of mental conditions and just problems. And then the ones that went back to their natural diet, the next kid was born well, and he documented every bit of it. And so, the ones that had problems, he gave them back their good diet, and those kids also improved. So he wrote it all up and found that all the cultures were all eating different things. Like Eskimos were not eating what Kenyans ate, and they weren't eating what Pacific Islanders ate, but they were all eating according to a very specific model. And he asked them, why do you take so much care with your food? And they said, because we need perfect babies. And so Jen and I thought, it's how we started eating, and it changed our lives, and it changed our clients' lives, the ones that use it, and it helped us grow good kids, And so we thought, let's make a Lunch Foundation where this kind of information about everything, all the medical interventions, all the food, all the lifestyle things, all the stuff is available, so that as a parent, someone can look at it and go, I want to learn about vaccines. Don't tell me what to do. Let me research it and find the research and make up of your own decision, and what to do about food, and not just what they're telling you to do about food, but to really research what's actually worked for 10,000 years, and all this stuff to get the information to parents. And then the other part of the Make a Lunch Foundation, our dream is to have food carts all over the country and then all over the world, food carts that make one meal a day for kids for free. And then and kids can get treated with respect and love, and they can come and, a little picnic table kind of thing, and they get their food and they eat food. Because what Weston A. Price found was the kids that were not doing well, he did this thing where he gave them one meal a day that had all the components that these indigenous cultures had found. So one meal a day. So breakfast, they ate their crap, the Western food. Middle of the day, they ate this one nutritious meal, and then they went home. And he reversed tooth decay and all sorts of problems.
Better in school.
They did better in school. They just got well. And so we thought, wouldn't it be wonderful as Jen says, lovely. Wouldn't it be wonderful to get parents this information so that they don't hurt their kids? Their parents don't want to hurt their kids. They just have the wrong information. And a way where any child can go get a nutritious, really nutritious meal, not like fake nutritious meal, not like the stuff that's been told to us. Very nutrient dense, the kind of stuff that can reverse very serious conditions. It's already been done. It was done in the 1930s.
Infused with ancestral wisdom.
Yeah, and change the world. And so that's our plan. And then so what I thought was, this is what came to me over the last day or two, was somebody out there, you guys, somebody out there knows how to do this. And somebody out there has somebody with a lot of resources that wants to do something big. And somebody out there has some structures in place and people they know that can make things happen. Somebody out there can do it. And we can be a virtual mastermind and meet on Miracles, Magic, and Coffee and talk about getting well from autoimmune and anxiety and other conditions and how to do stuff, and start to create a portal of all of this information so people can go to it and go, hey, what do you know about vaccines? Or what do you know about this? Let me do the research and get well, but also a portal where if somebody has access to the UN or access to somebody that wants to change the world, or just different people, computer people, salespeople, marketing
Someone
people.
that knows how to set up a food cart.
Somebody that knows how to
Get
do a
approved
food cart.
Through all the
Yeah.
food
So there's people, all of us, if we spread this Miracles, Magic, and Coffee and get this virtual mastermind going, there's people right now that, I don't know how to do all this stuff. And a lot of it isn't my thing. It's not like what excites me to learn how to do a food cart, but somebody, that's their thing. And Jen we were getting our sofas done, and she met the guy that does that. And when she couldn't stop talking about this guy, about how he makes this stuff in his life, how he decided to become this guy that upholsters stuff. And that's his thing. For me, I wouldn't want to do that, but it's so wonderful the way he's turned it into art. So my request out to you guys is, who wants to be in and be part of our mastermind and meet once a week, Wednesday at 10 a.m. And we're going to just kind of hang out like we're hanging out at our favorite place and meeting and coming up with something that we want to do. This is what I want to do. And then see who can help us, and then see what you guys want and see how we can help you. So that's how each of us can help each other. So that's the idea. We're going to be asking a lot of you to be on the show. And I want to just check in with Jen and see what she, what she thinks. Have her talk.
No, I do. I think it's a good thing to put out there, because we just have been very blessed with an amazing network of people in our lives, and with all kinds of different skills and all kinds of different gifts. And maybe someone's been waiting for an idea like this to use to channel their gift in a way that speaks to the world in a similar way that we want to. And for me, that's very much helping empower families to make healthy decisions for themselves, and just giving them knowledge, how to reduce toxicity in our lives, how to build our gut health, so that we experience better immunity, better natural immunity, and are strong from the inside out, and also just how, on all kinds of levels, so yeah, we see this as a way to provide a service and also education that empowers people and helps, spread that. Again, I just see so much wisdom in the ancestral nutrition and also ways of life. That's my fascination. That's what I like to have come to love to study. Now if I went to Africa, I would not think that I was going there to be doing something for other people. I would be going there, if I could find an indigenous culture to study, I would want to go there to learn from them and receive their wisdom. So, my perspective has kind of flipped, and that's, bringing that wisdom back and gathering it. And, we're going to have to re-perfect it, because a lot of it's been lost and diluted, but, you know, that's what I would like to see happening. And in the meantime, our kids can be getting healthier and be thriving, like that forest you talked about. So, yeah.
Cool. Well, let me see if anybody's over there commenting. Yay. Hey, Mary.
Yay. Thanks, Mary.
Mary is in. She's going to be one of the first ones on our thing. And she's all about nature and healing. So look for that. So I'm excited. I think this is really cool. Really cool. Because there's people out there that already know how to do the different parts of our dream that want to be part of this. They just need to know that, hey, there's something
We
going
even
on.
have the stream. Yeah. Someone
then,
has the stream out there.
And you guys have your dreams, and some of it's getting well or protecting your family or your kids. And we can help with each other with that. So the Miracles, Magic, and Coffee Show is going to be about a lot of interviews and a lot of brainstorming and a lot of call outs to find who can help with certain parts of this thing. And you can find it here at the YouTube show. Just go to click subscribe and click the little button that has the little bell, and it'll give you notifications. Every day I do a video just about. And every Thursday, if you're on our email list, I do a healing session and send out an email. So look for those if you're a part of our world. And then join us on the YouTube show every Wednesday. I'm committed to doing it every Wednesday at 10 o'clock Pacific time, just like today. So it's a set time, but then it'll be on video later. Yeah. And I guess that's it from over here in Bellingham, Washington. Anything else to say, Aiden or Mama Jen?
No, thanks for being with us.
Okay, Ben, you want to give a bump? Okay. See you guys later.